We are the youth advocates, all aged between 16 and 25. We are trained in community reporting, a digital storytelling method that enables people to tell their own stories in their own voice with their own words for positive change. In this project, we explored how young people feel about the social contract. This is our definition of the social contract.
The social contract is an informal agreement of expectations of how the people and government will behave.
We the people trust the government to uphold our values and rights.
The social contract is broken.
The government makes decisions without consulting our lived experiences.
They expect us to abide by their expectations of us without fulfilling our expectations of them. For example, our equal right to security, health, education, welfare, and social pleasures and freedom of expression. We want the government and people to co-produce the social contract to be about what we can expect from each other and those who represent us.
We want rights and responsibilities to be shared equally so that we can work together to create ideas, policies, and to achieve solidarity.
Why it is important for you to watch this film is we are showing as young people we have a voice we want to share and are able to share. A voice with feelings and ideas, power ready to make the change wanted. We are smart and we are here, ready.
Like with what the government was saying about mandatory conscription, that was quite scary. And I don't really think they've done anything for me to warrant to fight for them.
If I'm honest, I don't really look at the government. I've never looked at the government, so I can't really talk on that subject. I don't really know too much about the government. I just know what I can do.
I also think often about personal failure, the fear of not meeting my own or societal expectations, failing to achieve goals, and the potential for regret or disappointment.
I know, and the inconsistency is it's not fair for a lot of young people because it massively limits like how much you feel you can do politically as well. And as soon as you get to like 18 and you feel politically powerless, that can carry through into your later adult lives. So I think it's why youth engagement in politics is so important.
When it comes to hope, I hope that things seem more achievable and attainable because I feel like lots of people feel very demotivated seeing what the current state of the world is, which is very understandable.
In terms of the government, it'd be really important and great to have stronger enforced hate speech laws because so many people, particularly in mainstream media like news stations, get away with disguised hate speech. This, in my opinion, is fueling the rise in discrimination that us queer and especially trans people face.
One thing probably would be freedom of information. I think it can be quite difficult some of the time because of publishers and such. It's quite difficult to get hold of information just as an individual, depending on what the subject is. And I think also funding around libraries for schools and just public libraries in general.
Maybe we need more tools or more skills or more ways that we can deal with, say, challenges like inflation or challenges with like job market uncertainties, maybe even things like protests or strikes, things like that. Just like how do we as citizens be more equipped to be more resilient?
My hopes is that we have better education system for inclusivity for young people with special educational needs, and also for young people in general to have it more better and with support staff, and the young people feeling like they have a voice in school, and that they're learning performing like not performing but actually preparing for adulthood and life skills to help them in later life.
When you don't have family or like a basic forms of support, and that basic form of support that you did have has been stripped away from you, it does allow you to end up in the criminal justice system or in hospitals or homeless. And it's like but you promised us a better life. And the average family won't just leave their children as soon as they turn 18 or 25. They will continue to provide support.
My main hope is to go to university, I think, and possibly medically transition, though that could be quite difficult with the costs and the NHS service kind of being defunded a bit.
Public resources, the NHS, like we're prioritising that much too quickly, much too comfortably for my life. The government needs to intervene, and we need to protect it.
I do not think I'd survive under a private healthcare system, and I don't think anyone I love would survive under a private healthcare system. I'm just really scared of how my future as a doctor is going to look like, how I'm going to balance like the work-life balance. Yeah, stress.
I feel like there should be much more regulation in adult social care, which is very much not the case. Due to the lack of regulations, liberties have been deprived illegally. The support that's being provided is inadequate.
We need careers and people such as social workers to be able to support families. They're not making it very easy and accessible to get into those careers. It's almost like being part of the working class. It's very impossible to get into that unless you've got parents or a partner who can really support you financially through that.
Cost of living, obviously, that's like the biggest thing for anyone. Even just working in a part-time job and having to just buy basic things is proven impossible, hence why I'm having to pick up a second job.
My main fear is that the cost of living will continue to rise so much that things that were possible for previous generations, such as owning a home or starting a family, will become more and more unaffordable. If I do ever start a family, I worry about the consequences that climate change might have on my children and grandchildren. I also worry about the impact of artificial intelligence in terms of things like job losses and disinformation.
I would like to have a change in minimum wage because the cost of living has increased a considerable amount over the last few years. So the current minimum wage doesn't cover a significant enough amount of bills and other priority expenses.
I had savings, but obviously I don't have those anymore. I'm trying to save back up again because I feel like that would be a good idea, especially if I want to be able to afford a house in the future. But I think of money as something that you can always get money back, but with memories you can't. That's kind of something I say to people sometimes, and I do stand by that.
It's diabolical. Like I think like the amount basically like we live in a world now where you can't work on things that you're passionate about if you actually live sustainably. And so we're like entrenching depression and apathy into the future generation because like if you want to own a home, you have to go to the financial industry, you have to go into the corporate world, etc.
Being successful is key. Having money, and I know everything's not about money, but having my own business and having a family and just not having worries. I grew up with, or my friends grew up with, and just kind of being able to live a happy life
around that. But I think whatever I do, I'd love to do around my lived experiences and helping others. So I think that's a big hope, and I think just being happy and just enjoying life and always being comfortable, or what I consider as comfortable. So I think those are sort of my hopes.
In terms of opportunities, like nowhere near enough at all. I think there's like they come to me and go, we want to engage with young people, but we're probably not going to pay them. We're going to do the meetings in the daytime when people are either at like secondary school, college, university. They work themselves. They create so many access barriers to the opportunities, so that realistically, there's a massive amount of privilege that goes into being able to access them in the first place.
I'm the student governor of my school, so I do
I do think I'm sort of in a position of like making decision, but like to be honest, I don't feel like I'm doing much in my role because like I don't think there's like because my the thing is like you're supposed to have like board papers like before the meeting about like the details they're gonna discuss and stuff.
Yeah.
And like I don't get the board papers like before the meetings because I'm under 18, so they don't give me like the board papers beforehand. And also like loads of loads of the things in a meeting are quite confusing and like it's not I don't feel like I can contribute a lot to the meetings, but then I mean, like as a student governor, I'm also like part of the student council, and like I mean, like I think as a student council, like as part of the student council, I'm more able to like make changes because like it's more accessible to me.
More opportunities for young people, especially young black people. Growing up in Croydon, I think it's like a lot of negative, for example, growing up in Croydon, a lot of negative stuff like knife crime and stuff, but I feel like with more opportunities, they can really change people's lives, like, and their mindset. And I think mindset is so important to achieving what you want in life.
Like I'm lucky to be working in an area that's in the countryside and has a strong identity, but closer you get to some of these Manchester towns, you get to see that they don't do public events nearly as much, and they don't hang out and they don't talk with each other as neighbours. And I feel like it's just getting a bit concerning. The sense of community is just disappearing in most areas. Just don't think that people are just going to get along and talk with each other. They're just going to keep erupting walls and just judging others.
I would really love to be able to travel around the world and meet people I've only dreamed of. I also want to go to a university in London, be able to study what I love, while still being able to afford to go to the theatre. I fear I might not be able to do that sometimes because I don't think I'll be able to fulfill my dream due to me being a non-binary lesbian in a society where being trans isn't really accepted.
I feel like young people in government is really important, like even in the House of Lords and House of Commons, just for our opinions to be heard, just because it always feels like there's a lot of old people running the country.
I feel like that there's nobody willing to listen to us and in central government, and it's gotten to a point where you have to take matters on into our own hands.
I feel like opportunities for youth boards, young people's action groups, those have been coming up increasingly, and I think that's so great because it cultivates a space where young people can get involved in this sort of thing and develop relationships with other people who care about similar topics, so that what they do together can have really big positive consequences, which is really great.
So that is definitely my hopes for the future. Just seeing the young change makers and the future generation develop and grow and create initiatives that will change the world.
I hope the price of everything will stop rising. I hope racism and capitalism, just to name a few of the isms that stifle my life, will be dismantled.
Yeah, my hopes, just to be a successful young man. Yeah, literally, that's my hopes. Successful young man, have a nice, stable family, stable life, and obviously, most important one, freedom as well.